former president of the United States, saying, you know, we never really got to the bottom of what happened on 9/11. We really should look into that.
Yeah,
we
of
did,
course was president
A well-informed man.
Yeah, he could have done something about that. Someone else, by the way, who doesn't need the money, Donald Trump. How do you see this legal fight being resolved?
LIV's Golf's Patrick Reed has threatened CNN's Jake Tapper and Bob Costas with a $450 million lawsuit. This is the golf league that is funded by the Saudis. The Saudis might also be purchasing WWE. Maybe one of the top contenders to purchase the WWE. Let's take a look at the video. Last week, Costas joined Tapper on CNN to discuss the legal battle between LIV Golf and the PGA Tour. During the segment, Tapper apparently accused LIV Golf of being used by Saudi Arabia to sports wash their government's known human rights abuses. Seems like a perfectly fair critique. Saudi Arabia, known human rights abuser. Tapper also noted LIV Golf, which is backed by Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, was able to attract some of the sport's top athletes with blood money. Also a fair assessment. It's CNN. Hold on. CNN don't work on that browser. Don't like my Google Chrome.
In our sports league today, a golf legal feud that is about so much more than putting a ball in a hole. It's heating up. Tomorrow, a California judge will hold a hearing on whether the Saudi-backed LIV golf organization needs to cooperate.
Was his intro to that golf is so much more than just putting a ball in a hole? No shit, Sherlock. That's the This is a multi-million-dollar company. This man is making multi-millions. I mean, fucking Discovery Time Warner is probably like $1 billion company, multi-billion-dollar company. Fucking, and that's the best you can come up with? Golf is so much more than putting a ball in a hole? Buddy.
In our sports league today, a golf legal feud that is about so much more than putting a ball in a hole. It's heating up. Tomorrow, a California judge will hold a hearing on whether the Saudi-backed LIV golf organization needs to cooperate in the legal fight they and their players picked with the PGA Tour. Saudi Arabia has been trying to use LIV to gain greater Western and worldwide acceptance, despite Saudi Arabia's record of human rights abuses. And LIV and its Saudi backers now find themselves in a legal war that involves the Saudi government, 9/11 families, and many of the top names in golf. As you may recall, LIV Golf was founded in 2021, backed by the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, which is estimated to be worth more than $600 billion. Last year, LIV, with that money, snagged several top PGA players to come on board.
I really don't like this whole Saudi
Phil
thing.
Mickelson and Dustin Johnson and Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka. The Human Rights Challenge Saudis did this by offering these players quite a bit of money. A lot of money. Blood money? Sure, maybe. A lot of it. The former #1 golfer in the world, Dustin Johnson, made around $74 million in PGA.
Right-wingers love to saber rattle about China.
After turning pro in
Saudi Arabia is the one that worries me more.
Pay him
far more.
$125 million just for a 4-year contract. Phil Mickelson was reportedly offered $200 million to take the jump to LIV. That's more than double what he had made in total throughout his entire 30-year career. Now, of course, this new golf organization, threatening the fame and popularity of the PGA Tour, can't afford to offer this cash. And they have a PR incentive because, of course, Saudi Arabia has a horrifying human rights record, including severe medieval restrictions on girls and women, repression of the LGBTQ community, a country whose elites had ties to Al-Qaeda, the terrorist organization responsible for 9/11.
Okay, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret, tadpole.
The CIA ordered the
I like
killing of
golf.
Washington Post journalist and U.S. resident Jamal Khashoggi in 2018.
Not only do I know how to play
Saudis do not
golf, I
want you to
play
think
like
about that
PGA
when you
games
think
on
about Saudi Arabia.
PlayStation.
Last year, LIV Golf held at least 7 events, 2 of them at Trump properties, one at Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey. The team championship was at the Trump National Doral in Florida.
I like to
Donald Trump
relax
himself was
and kick
seen
back and play a
with
game of
Georgia
golf.
Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene at the LIV tournament at his Bedminster hotel. Around that same time, Trump on his Truth Social website urged golfers to, quote, take the money from the Saudis and not stay loyal to the PGA. As this was happening, the PGA started
I
suspending
think the name is cool.
restrictions
It's sad
on
that such a
golfers who
horrid
had signed
person
on
is
to LIV. And
associated
here's where
with
the
it.
legal trouble started.
Trump.
Last
That's a cool
August,
fucking name.
11 golfers from LIV sued the PGA, challenging those restrictions. LIV then joined onto that lawsuit, arguing antitrust violations, asserting that the PGA had essentially a monopoly on golf.
I didn't know all this. They do have a monopoly on golf.
Saying that LIV had, quote, tortiously interfered with its contracts with golfers. The trial to hash all this out is set for January of next year, 2024, but that gets us to where we are now. Investors with
Thank you,
LIV
Jay Tapper.
are arguing to the judge that they should not have to cooperate with the rules of discovery. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and its Public Investment Fund, or PIF, they're
PIF.
claiming they should not have to play a role in this at all, that they're not directly involved in LIV's day-to-day operations. But the PGA says that claim is false. PGA is saying the Saudis want to use the American justice system to fight the PGA without abiding by the American justice system rules of discovery. We should note another recent development dealing with the PR firm that the PGA hired to deal with this, a firm it's called Clout. Clout also represents a group of 9/11 families. And now LIV, the Saudis, are trying to force Clout through a subpoena to turn over information about its relationship to those 9/11 family organizations.
Wow.
That's right, the Saudis suing a PR firm that represents 9/11 families, believe it or not. LIV trying to determine whether the PGA is using connections to the 9/11 families to protest LIV, they say, which those families did at several tournaments last year, including at Trump's Bedminster Hotel. Those same families have for years, of course, been suing Saudi Arabia.
This is
accusing the
wild.
kingdom of involvement in the 9/11
I knew
terrorist
nothing
attacks,
about any of
which
this.
the kingdom has hidden from the public. That's a charge the Saudis, of course, deny. Joining us now to talk about it all, CNN contributor, sportscaster Bob Costas.
Oh yeah, Bob Costas.
This
He's
seems
cool
like
as
a
fuck.
clear example of what you and I have talked about, sports washing, the Saudi government trying to gain acceptance throughout the world using its flashy new golf organization while continuing to commit these horrifying human rights abuses.
True, and all the details that you just laid out, accurate as they are so dizzying they almost made my earpiece pop out, so I apologize for the spaghetti strand hanging over my shoulder. I can't quite figure that out. Yeah, the whole idea of sports washing is one we've talked about, and we should stipulate. Many U.S. companies, including some who are sponsors of the PGA, have business relationships with Saudi Arabia. And the United States and sports leagues in the United States are deeply invested in China. But that doesn't change the fact that these individual golfers had a choice to make. It wasn't as if they'd be on a breadline if they stayed with the PGA. They had a choice to make. What they did is not by any means illegal in accepting the money, but to many people it's unseemly given all the background which you just laid out. And while it's on the USOC for putting 2 Olympics in Beijing, another in Sochi, and it's on FIFA for putting a World Cup in Qatar, those athletes, if they're Olympians or soccer players, have no choice.
Which most certainly was responsible for 9/11.
Had a choice.
Former President Trump has hosted 2 LIV events at his own properties, subjecting him to a lot of criticism from 9/11 families. What do you make of it?
Well, first of all, we'll see what happens in the future, and if LIV Golf develops some kind of following. Golf fans don't really seem to care about the outcomes of the events, but they've only had 7 or 8. But in the first year, it's also a MAGA tour as well as a LIV Golf tour, including the former president, with his usual sensitivity and grace, thumbing his nose at the 9/11 families. Some 700 of those who perished on 9/11-2001 were from New Jersey, some of them in the immediate Bedminster area. And we'll see what turns up in court as the LIV interests are alleging that Clout has some relationship with the 9/11 families, also representing the PGA. But the idea that the 9/11 families need a nudge from the PGA Tour to protest what happened, to protest President Trump holding an event at his course, and to push for years and years for the Saudi Arabians to acknowledge some sort of responsibility for 9/11, all of that predates any of this LIV PGA kerfuffle. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. We'll see what comes out in court. But you would expect a former president, all but one, any former president, to be more sensitive to the meaning, both to the country and to the individual families, of holding an event in the shadow, in effect, of the World Trade Center, and then saying, former president of the United States saying, you know, we never really got to the bottom of what happened on 9/11. We really should look into that.
Yeah,
we
he, of course,
did,
was president
though.
for 4 years.
Well-informed man.
Yeah, he could have done something about that. Someone else, by the way, who doesn't need the money, Donald Trump. How do you see this legal fight being resolved?
I didn't catch the last thing you said, Jed.
Jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams.
I don't have the expertise to say. The Saudis
All I got to say about that.
have a boundless amount of
I'm
money,
not a 9/11
so they will
truther,
continue
guys.
to attract big stars.
I was joking.
And you and I are going to stay on top of this and keep talking about it and keep talking about it. Bob Costas, thank you so much.
Yeah, my piss after I've drank Mountain Dew game fuel.